All right, the Reds, we're going to have a little talk about Liverpool v Everton in the derby. It's Everton v Liverpool, isn't it? I'm all over the show this morning. Sorry about that. I'm still on a high from Liverpool beating Watford 5-0. The perfect preparation, surely, for this game. I've got Glenn Price with me, I've got Dan Morgan with me, and I'm Gareth Roberts. Yeah, we're going to have a chat about the 233rd Merseyside derby. I love the way that always gets said. It's the 200th derby in the top flight as well, so all jokes aside, they are two good clubs, two historic clubs, all the rest of it. It's just that Everton have been a bit shit in the derby for quite a while now. Are you expecting that to continue, Dan? And is there still a psychological effect from what happened at Anfield with Pickford, Origi et al?
There's no doubt Liverpool are in the heads of Everton, and has been the case for many years. You know, they can't deny that now. It's become such a thing. There's been that much comical value in Merseyside derbies over the past few years from our point of view that, you know, it defies belief, some of the stuff that's gone on in the way in which we've gone on to win them and stuff like that. So there's no doubt it does play a part, you know, and we've seen groups of Everton players, Everton teams become, I think they've become too engrossed by the concept of beating Liverpool because they know what it means to the fans. And unfortunately for them, that's all they're left with again this season now, because everything has gone to the dogs with them in terms of what they're playing for. You know, they're out the FA Cup, they're floating in the league, and there's question marks around this manager for what must be the third time in 2-3 years in terms of their turnover. So it all points to a game in which they will do everything they can to stop Liverpool, and there will be no shame in that from them. You know, their priority, their plan will be to stop us at any cost. And for Liverpool, I think it's another chance of redemption for Liverpool. I think Liverpool have the opportunity to go and get the big morale boost and win at Old Trafford that can really give you the momentum to carry through. And I think Neville says something similar the other day. He says, you know, going to Anfield and winning late on in the season, you almost felt invincible after. Yeah. And I think Liverpool did miss an opportunity with that on Sunday, but I think they have another opportunity this Sunday to get that, and I think they will.
It's 18 now, Glenn, for Everton without a win against Liverpool, and that's the longest streak without a victory in the history of their club, which, in case you didn't know, Glenn, is slightly longer than Liverpool's. And they used to play at Anfield, you know. But, you know, Dan's right, isn't he, that this is a very emotional event for them. And I talked about the United game, and I thought that Liverpool would go into the United game and not be emotional because of the way Klopp manages. I actually think that didn't happen. I actually think the occasion maybe got to them a little bit, and that's why they didn't perform. So do you think, particularly given what we saw against Watford and a lot of people back on track and Trent brilliant, have we now pressed the reset button again and we're ready, we're in the right shape of mind to go to Goodison Park? Yeah, possibly, and I think it's always Everton that I've found that have been getting caught up in the derby. In the derby, I think Klopp's mentioned it a few times. There's always one bad tackle, one over-the-top tackle in these games, and a lot of the time it has come from someone in blue. I think Ross Barkley quite a lot
on Henderson. Yeah. So I think that's probably just because that is, as Dan mentioned, 18 times against your rivals, and to not get a win once, that's generations, isn't it? The kids growing up who haven't seen Liverpool, Everton beat Liverpool, and that is just quite remarkable. And I'm not one for, you know, like history and looking about the history books and thinking it doesn't really matter. These are different players. It's a different team, but it is just weird. Same with, like, you can argue with Spurs sometimes. I know history, you know, a bit unkind to them, but Everton, it is just weird. And I think Liverpool have been fortunate a few times in recent times against Everton, but so you can create your own luck. But that result on last night was important. It was a good timely reminder that Liverpool are a good team, possess one of the best front threes in Europe. They've got one of the best back lines in Europe as well, and for a midfielder on paper that doesn't look like it can create much can have such an impact on the game like they did on Wednesday night. It was a reminder that this is a title-winning squad.
It's interesting, Dan, I think, when you dig down into this, we obviously know about Everton's record, and you know, there's rightly piss-taking going on, like, but I think when you have a look at it, and I've just been doing this, our last 10 there, We've only actually won 3 of them. There's 5 draws there, and there's 2 defeats here. The last defeat, was quite a while ago. It was under Roy Hodgson. Those fantastic days where we had Paul Konchesky and Kyriakos in defence, Joe Cole in midfield, and the genius that is Shredded Wheathead. He brought on Milan Jovanovic as a late sub to inspire things, and it didn't really work out, did it? So we were defeated there. But it's a tough place to go, isn't it, the piss taking aside? I mean, I've done a lot of these shows. I've done various shows this week with different contributors, and I'm sensing a little bit of it, Everton are shit. And they have been on a bad run, but nevertheless, they're going to raise it for Liverpool. You've both mentioned the fans and how much they'd like to ruin the party, as we go for the title. They're all talking about booking holidays and all kinds if we win the league. They don't want to see us win the league. And nothing wrong with that, by the way. No. If it was the other way round, I wouldn't want Everton to win it either. And you know what? I know Evertonians will watch this because of course they will. I actually liked the days where we were both good, honestly. They were great. When the two sides were both good, both in finals, both going for titles, things like that, it was fantastic. And I hope one day it kind of clicks with them, but I always hope we're above them. I
mean, I've never lived in that world where they've been good, to be fair, so I wouldn't know, but
it was all right.
You're completely right. And I think for me, living amongst Evertonians, it's always them ahead of Manchester United. I have no shame in saying the derby is my biggest game of the season, simply because of you being around this city each and every day. And, ask me at the start of every season, and I'd say, there's probably a world in where I'd take just 2 points just to make sure we don't get beat a point either side. And I think that's probably played out down the years a couple of times. You think of last year where Everton could have nicked it, Liverpool just take the points. There's 1 or 2 others I can think of where, in a case of just not getting beat, they take a point. But with what's riding on this season now, that's not going to be acceptable in a way. It's not going to be enough for us. We probably used our last take a point card on Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's the thing for us. So
it's reached a stage though as well, I think, where it always sounds like a really big figure, but now it's just 10 left to play, 10. And if you said, are Liverpool capable of winning 10 times? Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't sound that big of a figure. It doesn't sound mad to say Liverpool could win every game, and so this has got to be one of them.
Liverpool are good enough to win the next 10. It's the momentum question. Can they get the momentum? And that's where that could come from Sunday. And I think what we've seen against Watford was Liverpool being at their flat track bully best, and there's an undoubted thing that Liverpool are better than Everton, and every Evertonian would admit that too. So if Liverpool can flat track bully in this fixture, which is really hard to do because of the context of it and the emotion of it, but if they can find a way to go, we're just better than you, and to show that on the day, then there's no reason why they can't win. But it's not a game where you can get out with a point, unfortunately. So I'd rather, this is the one very, very rare opportunity where I'd just say, if you're going to lose, then do everything you can to win. You know what I mean? I'd rather play 6 up front and get it suckered on a counter-attack trying to win the game, rather than just getting out with a point.
Absolutely. Well, Everton are 9th in the league currently with 36 points. They've lost 12 already this season in the league. They've scored 39 and conceded 39. Liverpool all the way at the top with 69 points. Scored 64, conceded 15, and they've got the best defensive record away from home. Only conceded 8 goals on the road so far. Now, of course, on the road is slightly different for this one. We are in the same city, and we do always go and visit, the other ground, the other fans, and all that kind of thing. It's a little bit different this time because we're in the same city, but we have managed to find a blue who would speak to us. So here you go. All right, the Reds, I'm freezing my arse off for the Anfield Wrap cause here. We're in Liverpool. This is the section of the show where we're normally recommending what pubs you go to, what you should be doing before the match and all that sort of stuff. But you know the script, it's Everton. They're in the same city as us, so we don't need all that. Go to your normal pubs, go to the Liverpool pubs, venture into an Everton one and pretend you're a blue. Do what you like, but it's just Liverpool, isn't it? It's Liverpool's the boss city. If you're coming for the first time, lucky you. How did you get a ticket? I haven't got one. Any spares, but if you have got one and you're coming for the first time, have a look around, come down here. The front's brilliant, go on the ferry across the Mersey, all that sort of stuff, and have a look at the Liver buildings, because Everton think they own that now. They lit it up blue, and then they lost every match after they lit it up blue, and now it's not blue anymore. So light it up blue for the derby, boys. Do us a favour, we'd love it if you did. Listen as well, we have got a blue. It was hard work this time around, might be my fault, Dak, for stuff I've said on videos. Sorry, Blues. But yeah, we've got a blue. We're going to have a chat to a blue. He's going to answer some questions about the derby and about how they're feeling. So here it is.
David Feely, Evertonian, 55 years old, 51 years of active toffeeism. I myself am a home and away season ticket toffee. That's it. Honestly, it can genuinely go three ways. I don't know which teams are going to turn up. If it was the Liverpool of 5 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, 3 months ago, they'd probably win 4-0. If it's our team who went to Anfield and played so well until the 96th minute, we might win that game on Sunday. If it's either of the other two teams what's been turning up in the interim period, it could just be another border or like what Manchester United was. So until I get there and I see what it is, I'd say it'll be tight. I don't think anyone will run away with it because I think the crowd will get involved. The referee's a nutcase anyway, so I don't think it'll be that fast, free-flowing thing. I think it'll be a kind of typical derby, and I think there might be one goal in it, 2-1 either way, I would say. Marco Silva wasn't my specific personal choice to be Everton manager, but once he got the job, I swore that I'd back him till the end kind of thing, and I've also said right through it, I'm applying no caveats. This was a big deal. Sam Allardyce was our last manager. So the thing he's done this year is he walked in the door and said, the first thing I'm going to do, I can't reinvent the wheel overnight. The first thing we're going to do is turn up at the big teams, which is something we've been crying for years and pointing fingers at previous managers for years. Well, he kind of achieved that. We went to them all before Christmas, and we played well at every single one of them, better than we have in the previous 10 years and more, actually. So he's got that in his locker. However, since Christmas has exposed the kind of the flaws and the work in progress aspect, what we knew was there from the previous regime. So I'm saying to you, I'm applying no caveats. Let's get to the end of it and see what he's done well and see what he needs to work on. Honestly, this is not a blag because I'm doing an interview for the Anfield Rap. Ask the lads, I do the radio with them every week. I do not watch Liverpool. The only goal I've seen them score this season, I was in the ground for against Everton. The Suarez season, 2013-14, the only goals I saw them score that season, I was in the ground for. It's just the way we do it. It's just, if I start concentrating on Liverpool, I've got enough problems with Everton to be inheriting their problems as well. So it's que sera, whatever. But if they win it, they'll have earned it. If they don't, they won't have. That's my opinion.
Thanks very much to our toffee friend there. I mean, look, I've had a bit of a go at Everton a little bit now and then, and I think they know about it, and not many of them wanted to do that particular bit. So, well into him for, speaking to us. We appreciate it. Thanks, mate. Right, okay, Everton then. Back to Everton. Back to taking the piss. Everton have lost 9 of the last 14 league matches prior to the win against Cardiff. That was a run that, of course, started with Origi, Pickford and a blue flare on the pitch. They haven't strung 2 wins together in the Premier League since October. Last 6 as well. The 3-0 win over Cardiff, which I mentioned. Before that, they were defeated by Watford at Watford 1-0. They got beat by Man City 2-0. They got beat by Wolves at home 3-1. They beat Huddersfield 1-0, and before that, they were knocked out of the FA Cup 3-2 by Millwall. Is there anything at all, tactically, how they could set up, player-wise, that worries you? Sigurdsson's a good player. Sigurdsson's the top scorer, scored 2 goals against Cardiff. The manager's bigging him up as well, saying you will see him in form against Liverpool, which is a big prediction. Him aside, any other worries for Liverpool? Anyone else we should be thinking about? Ooh, he could cause us problems, or?
Yeah, I think obviously Everton are not at the standard of Bayern Munich or Man United for that matter. Just
no, mate.
But I think the way that they sort of frustrated Liverpool and kept them at arm's length, that might not be something the home supporters want to see, but if you're a manager and you're fighting for your job, it might be something you have to look at doing. And I think there might have been one or two hints of them preparing for that in the way they set up against Cardiff. I think Andre Gomez doesn't start that game. He plays Schneiderlin and Idrissa Gueye as the holding midfielders, which makes you think that he might be going for a bit more solidity rather than going all out for it. And I think that probably helps with, if you're looking at getting Sigurdsson on the counter-attack. He scores a good counter-attacking goal against Cardiff, and I think he scored one at Anfield last season, which was pretty similar. He was getting on the end of a late run into the box, and that's probably something that worries me a bit. If Liverpool are expected to be on the front foot and take the game to Everton, that Everton begrudgingly do have the quality to.
Well, this is the mad thing, isn't it,
them.
about them, because the piss taken aside about the Origi goal and everything else, they actually played quite well at Anfield, and it was actually a game what you were watching going, this is definitely one of the better Everton sides that I've watched in all the years of being watching the derby. And mentioned Sigurdsson already, Richarlison as well. I really like him. I like his attitude. In fact, what I'm saying is I like the fact that he's got a bit of needle about him, but he's got ability as well to go alongside that. And they spent a fair chunk of change in the summer. They won the transfer window apparently. So there's capability there. Whether the manager's able to harness it this quickly after beating Cardiff, they were definitely in some kind of major funk. You only had to sort of read a few Evertonians' tweets to know that. So can they turn it around this quickly to be able to do something against Liverpool, or is it a big ask?
I think what's interesting, as well as what Glenn said about the Cardiff games, they bring Jagielka back in as well, and they've been a mess at set pieces in particular. I don't think they've adapted to the zonal system at all.
They're the worst in the league for that,
aren't they? Yeah, and given what Liverpool do against Watford, Van Dijk in particular, there's got to be an element of that in the back of their minds. But you're right, on paper, you look at them and you're thinking, not a bad side, this. I think what Liverpool need to do, and what they've done so well, is they've put teams into crisis early on, and they've done that on Wednesday night really well. So at left back, Watford are in crisis after 10 minutes. And if Liverpool can do that on either side, Seamus Coleman's having a bad season, Luca Dean has been a good player, but he's probably only going to have someone like Walcott or Bernard maybe in front of him, I'm not sure. I don't think the fullback's going to get that much protection. So there's definitely ways in which Liverpool can pick them off and make them look weak. But also I think there's a point with Everton, you mentioned Sigurdsson as a key man, I think there's a point where their attack stops, because fundamentally they're going to be left with what is most likely going to be Calvert-Lewin up front on his own. And I think Liverpool can isolate him a lot. I think what they will be looking for is themselves set pieces in and around the box. Can they get something where they can get someone on the end of? Can they get something that's in shooting distance for Sigurdsson maybe? Yeah. Free kick, corners, stuff like that. So it's all the cliches, it's all the things that have gone before with derbies. You stand up, that very narrow, horrible tunnel before you come out the game. You puff your chest out, you be bigger than them, you make your kit look brighter than theirs. You just carry the Liverpool thing into Goodison. And if you do that, after 20 minutes, Liverpool could find a way in which they've exploited Everton 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 different ways. With the way their season's gone recently, that could be enough to just plant too much of a seed of doubt with them, I think.
Well, Klopp hasn't lost the derby yet. And these games traditionally have obviously been full of blood and thunder, and there's 21 red cards in these fixtures, which is more than any other in the league. Is it going to be one of those games, though? I don't know, I run through the Liverpool side, I run through their side, and I think, I don't really see anyone doing the reducer after 30 seconds or anything like that. It could actually be a good game of football.
Yeah, it could. You look at that United game last weekend, that wasn't really a stereotypical Liverpool-Man United game. I guess these players are, there's only Trent who's the only Scouser in the team, and obviously we're not questioning how much it means to the players, but
no, it's all.
They're top professionals, aren't they? They're trying to get their mind in the game, but put it used to in the right way. I think it might be a decent game of football. I just think, I wonder if Silva does plan on sitting in and looking to frustrate Liverpool, just how long that will last, because even Allardyce last season, it got to the point, I think, second half, that game, Everton just did look to come out, and the crowd got up for it. It was noticeable, and probably unlucky to not score in the end, and Liverpool lucky to get a point. I think it's going to be good, and I think Liverpool will have learnt the lessons from the United game in particular about just not panicking. But that said, the title pressure and all that stuff, that can creep into it. And, you know, Evertonians will look to play on that and stuff and make it a hostile game. But I think these Liverpool players have been through, you know, these environments and these tests enough to make you think that the quality will show in the end.
I think there's definitely a world where Everton take 2-0 as well. You know, if we go in, say we go in, they'll shake hands on it, they'll get out with it, they don't want to hide. And especially with what happens again against Watford, I think that played out in that game, you know, at half-time, Watford going 2-0, and you got the sense that they'd have just got out with that if they could, but Liverpool didn't let them. That will be there, so if Liverpool can go in at the break, or maybe on the hour, 2-0 up, I think there's definitely a way in which Everton might try and probe a little bit, but they won't go and try and get themselves back in the game proactively. I think they'll just sit back and go, let's just get out with this. This is done.
The other thing is that, you know, Everton to me have always felt like a club that if they're going to be successful, it applies to most teams, I guess, but Everton in particular, you know, we'll take the mick about the ground, but it's a traditional ground, it's a big ground, the Gladys Street when it's up is good, you know, they can be really supportive of the side and make a lot of noise. So, you know, you'd expect them, therefore, to have a decent home record, is my point, and any success be built on that. And when you break the current table down into home and away, it's got to be a huge concern for Evertonians that they're 10th in terms of, you know, the home form, if you like. So they've played 14 at Goodison in the league, won 6, drawn 3, lost 5, scored 21, conceded 21. And from anyone's perspective, that's not good enough, particularly given what we mentioned before, the chunk of change they spent, the fact that they finally got the manager they actually wanted. Like, it's not done the trick, and it's no wonder that they're not happy, is it?
No, and, you know, speaking to a few Evertonians, there is just a real apathy about, you know, going the game, just because you've had the dying embers of the Koeman era that was rubbish. Then you've had Allardyce, who no one wanted, and now you've had, you know, promising signs under Silva that have just been, you know, diminished by that Origi goal. The season, Liverpool season and Everton season went in two completely different directions after that goal. You know, Everton's formations were changing after that game, and players featuring and not featuring, and then you know, sprints and chances created. All that stuff went down after that Origi goal. It was a real fork in the road for both Liverpool and Everton. Liverpool's situation probably doesn't help. You know, Everton's apathy at the minute. It can't be good watching. You know, Liverpool have an amazing home record, isn't it? The last beaten in April 2017, and that's sort of what Liverpool's foundation has been built on over the past few seasons under Klopp, is that it's very, very difficult to come to Anfield and get something, let alone a win.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they've been through the mill. They have, you know, they've been nothing short of shite for the best part of 20 years. And to have to go and watch that every week will put years on you. But there is something in that. I just think it's a really difficult place to play football if you play for them. Because of all of that, it just turns so quickly, and you can see it. I mean, I'll never forget when John Stones just has to turn around to the park end and be like, "Are you messing?" And he has to tell them all to calm down after he actually completes quite a good piece of play in his own box and gets rid of the ball. Something that he does now at City every week, and he's lauded for. So, you know, I'm not doing the whole, you know, where our life's great and theirs is terrible kind of thing, but I think it can be very toxic very quickly at Goodison. It can be a difficult place to play.
We've seen that in a microcosm, didn't we, where the game where it ended up with Virgil saying afterwards that the ground wasn't great today. It was the Leicester game.
Yeah. So we've been guilty of it too.
Yeah. That can happen at Goodison Park quite easily, and, you know, Liverpool, obviously, it's in their duties to try and make that happen. The other thing is, I do enjoy, obviously, getting into Evertonians' heads. So if you've been watching all the way through, cheers, lads. Just wanted to leave you with a stat, and that is that Liverpool have scored more 90th minute winning goals against Everton than any side as against any other in the Premier League. That's 5 times that's happened. So let's hope that happens again, because that's a really, really enjoyable way to win the derby. We're going to finish up with Neil Atkinson and the tactics board. He's going to have a look at what Silva may do, what Klopp may do, and how the game might go. Up the Reds, let's win this one at Goodison Park.
Everton here, shaping up at Goodison. It's strange. Everton had a long time off, 9th of February to the 26th of February. They beat Cardiff 3-0 last time out. And there were a few changes in line-up for that Cardiff game, which were really quite interesting. It makes it quite difficult to predict what the Blues are going to do at Goodison on Sunday. It's likely to be this sort of shape. This is Marco Silva's preferred shape, perfectly reasonable, 4-2-3-1. Against Cardiff, obviously Pickford in goal. Coleman came back in at right back. He'd been bombed out, to be quite honest with you, for John Joe Kenny in recent weeks. Kenny took Coleman's place, but Coleman was back for the game against Cardiff. Jagielka also reappeared at the heart of that defence, ahead of Yerry Mina, next to Michael Keane in there. Digne kept his place at left back. It would seem odd to start Jagielka against Liverpool, other than the fact that he is by some distance Everton's cleverest central defender, most intelligent central defender, great communicator. I'd argue that Jagielka is one of the Premier League era's most underrated performers in terms of what he's done across 10 years for Everton. If he was a little bit taller, I think he would have got a fair few England caps. I think he's been a terrific servant, and a lot of what he's done really well is with his brain. It might be that Silva fancies or values that intelligence on the pitch. That's not unreasonable, but at his age and with his legs, it does make a few sort of decisions for Silva. You can't push him that high up the pitch. He was never slow, Jagielka, but he has slowed down. In front of them, you had Idrissa Gueye, and next to him there was Schneiderlin. Schneiderlin came back in as well from nowhere, really surprised. Schneiderlin plays in the 3-0 win against Cardiff. Then you had Sigurdsson there. I think it was Richarlison off the left, and I think it was Walcott off the right, and up top was Calvert-Lewin. If they go with that Everton, I think they're going to, I can see that being what they go for across those sort of front three positions. But Schneiderlin is a bit of a surprise. Sigurdsson in there, yep, absolutely. And he played really well at Anfield. Sigurdsson, I thought he was the most underrated performer on the day in terms of his intelligence, trapping Liverpool's passing lanes. They went to a bit of a 4-4-2 at one point, Everton. And Sigurdsson was just stopping Liverpool from getting going and moving the ball. Andre Gomez played well at Anfield, but he's not been getting his game here. Will he come back in for this one? I don't know. So there's 4-5. Tom Davis was performing well up until the away game at Watford from an Everton point of view. He's been playing a bit higher up the pitch and been getting about a little bit more. Lookman is in and around. Bernard is in and around. It's not clear at all what Everton side we could face. We might have a different centre-back. We might have a different right-back. We might have a different right mid. They might go a slightly different shape, but I think it will be 4-2-3-1. I'd expect to see Pickford. I'd expect to see Keane. I'd expect to see Gueye. I'd expect to see Richarlison in either of these two positions, and I do think and Lucas Digne, and it will probably be Calvert-Lewin up front to try to occupy Liverpool's centre-backs. Liverpool should have too much for Everton, but then you can say that all the time. Liverpool will go into every game between now and the end of the season as favourites, especially those against the sides outside the top six. Liverpool need to win at Goodison Park.